Yes, I can. Hello.
Hi,
Hi,
Rachel.
Rachel.
Nice to meet you.
Oh, hello. Nice to meet you. Um,
Okay, amazing.
hi, hi. To start, with a show like this, it feels weird to call it a procedural because it's not really a procedural. It is just kind of,
Yeah,
the genre of detectives, and I think we as a society have just labeled those as procedurals
right.
out the gate.
Yeah,
But for like to get into like our obsession with detective stories and the nitty gritty of them. I think what is so appealing to me about Criminal Record is you have these two kind of, they're not dueling, but they are two different kinds of detectives going head to head. And so for you guys as creatives, what was the appeal of telling a story from these two different kinds of perspectives with two different detectives and how they kind of approach the idea of what a detective is and that a story from that perspective?
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think that was. I think you touched on what really was for us the heart of the show, which was one crime, an old case, and two detectives who are looking at this from a completely different worldview, I guess, from a different perspective. And there's a sort of chasm between them, and I think that's what the audience senses in Act One. There's a chasm of like it's generational, it's class, it's gender, it's racial. And I think I'm sort of fairly comfortable with word duel. I think we were very keen. Elaine would always say to me, "Don't let it be a double act." It's not two cops driving together in a car wisecracking. It's very much two people in opposition to each other. That just seemed like a great way to ask questions. I think what crime drama is so good at is hopefully being engrossing and entertaining and terrifying us and thrilling us in all the ways that it can do, but also it just throws up questions about what we're afraid of, what we're worried about right now as a society, or in cities in London right now. And I think they are two characters who sort of do start off feeling like they're going to go to war, and they do become kind of obsessed with each other. And there is a sort of pendulum swing across the show from one to the other, But hopefully across the 8 hours, and that's what's so great about telly, that long form storytelling, they start to realize that actually, I thought you were this person, but it's a bit more complicated than that, and I think they kind of crawl through those misunderstandings and realizations and resets to a point where they're almost kind of working together and reaching for some sort of common ground. They have a lot in common, in fact.
I mean, we were keen to rug pull on the idea of it being the sort of the bad cop and the good cop. That you sort of get into it thinking it's one thing, but actually it gets a lot more complicated than that. They are both a lot more complicated than that, and I think that if you make these two people smart and their adversaries, then your challenge is to make the story as clever as they are.
Yeah, too. And I think, I'm obviously I'm a fan of Doctor Who. And so like I appeal to a show because it's like, yes, that's Peter quality. Like I'm going to watch the show because I'm going to see what he brings to it. And it's so interesting to see him kind of in this because you have like Malcolm Tucker and then you see him as the doctor. And so it's like he always kind of brings something new. And was that a appeal for you guys to like bring something completely new to a man who always wants to reinvent himself when he is kind of bringing something to a character?
I think yes, I think that was interesting, but also the strange thing is that I think Peter has an outward looking face in that he's a very sort of warm, friendly person to everybody, and he's somebody who goes out of his way to make everybody feel comfortable. But the Peter I know is actually quite quiet and introspective and shy. And I think I personally was really interested to see him in the screen as something that was sort of quieter and more contained, because that's the Peter I know. Obviously not there's a lot of darkness and Hegarty that I don't think is in Peter, but that sort of quiet intelligence and that slightly enigmatic quality is not unfamiliar to me, but I don't think it's something you see him do on screen very often.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you guys so much for talking with me today. I really appreciate it. And I can't wait for people to see the show and talk about it. I'm so excited.
Oh,
Good.
bless you. Thank you so much. Really nice. Really nice.
Awesome.
Take care.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Great.